Hey everybody, my name's Keel, and welcome to the first episode of Coding with Keel. This series is a mix of tutorials and real-time documentation of my own learning journey through Python. And so I'll be teaching everything I learned from the basics to building games to just everything. And today we're going to kind of start out with what is Python and why would I learn it, how do you get started, and things like that. Um, Python is a super high level, easy to read language, and anyone who wants to go into web development or automation or data science, whatever, or you could even game development. Uh, Python's super useful. It's used for all sorts of things now, and a lot of the high tech big main companies are using Python. So that's Python. It's a coding language, and it's used in computer science degrees and getting jobs at maybe Amazon for back-end development or anything. Uh, there's a couple ways that you can go about coding Python. You will first have to download an IDE, which is an integrated development environment, and so I've chosen PyCharm, and we'll probably make a video over how to download that. It's fairly simple. You just go on the internet, type in which one you want, do your research beforehand. Some people go with, I think one is Sublime Text, something code leak, not leak code. VS Code is another one, and I just happen to start out with PyCharm, and this is really what I like. So, yeah, if we have to do a video and go back, then that's fine. We'll do that. But for now, we're going to start out with the basics, and yeah. So if you have PyCharm, feel free to follow along, and if not, get your IDE up and running and create a file with me, and so we'll start out. So over here on the left side, you see I have folders, and I'm just going to click on one of them, right click, new, create a Python file, and we'll just call it first episode, and then enter, and boom, you have a Py file. This is pretty simple. The reason why I say that is you will see tutorials and videos where people are using different IDEs, and you actually have to go in your files and make a file, save it there, and open it. It's just a weird thing. I don't think it's like that in every one of them, but this is a much simpler way because from what I understand, as soon as you create that file like I just did, this whatever you put in here is now saved into the file. Obviously, you do your Control S and save, but yeah. Anyways, to start out with, first episode, we will go over the four main data types, and we'll do a quick little example of each, and maybe do a little print function and wrap it up with a variable, and that'll be good for a first episode. So, what are the four main data types? Well, first thing to know is I mentioned that this is an integrated development environment. This is a code editor, a console, and the terminal all in one. And so what I mean by that is if I run a print statement and say, I'll put the quotation marks inside, kill, okay, hello world, and then we run it, which on my computer is Shift plus F10. You can also press the play button up here. It prints it down here, so you have your console and your terminal in one place. This also is a text editor, code editor, like I said, so it also highlights different words and syntax, which is super useful. I would recommend PyCharm, honestly, but some people like other things, and the reason I say that is there are other applications that have the console and the terminal as two separate pages. So you might have your terminal open over here and your editor open over here. That's fine, but this is just really, really convenient. So print world. Okay, so we'll save that for later. First off, data types. So what are the data types? The main four anyway. We will start out with integers. So integers, and they are abbreviated int space. And you notice the blue. That means that, like I said, we get the benefit of having this highlight and color code certain things, and so you'll start to memorize, oh, this is, what's such and such. You'll see. But integers are any whole number that do not have a decimal. So 4, 5, 89, 67, and negative numbers as well. -3, -69, and 789. These are all integers. And you might notice that this has color. Of course, the integers have a different color, but the data types has been blotted out. It's gray. And that's because this little hashtag is a tool that programmers use to add a comment to a program or a script or a file. And what that means is the way that Python specifically works is it starts at line 1 and it starts reading all the way down, and it takes directions from your input. And if I didn't have this there, it would try to take directions from these two words, and we're not wanting that to be a part of the code or the program. So you put a hashtag, and now this is just a note. So it doesn't interact with the program. It doesn't affect the script, and these are super useful. So you might be following along right now and taking notes. And so when you come back and study this after the video's over, you might want to know that int stands for integers. And so yeah, put your hashtag. I always put a space, but you don't have to. You can put it right up against it. Put the word above it so you know what it is, and we can come back to it later and look at it. But moving on, the next data type is a string. So a string is abbreviated str space. You see the highlighted blue, so we know it's data types. And we'll go ahead and let's actually put another space in between. Let's add the hashtag. Let's put the word above there. So a string is any assortment of characters placed in between quotation marks. So you could write, "This is my first time," let's do it, "coding!" Exclamation points. Yay. Okay, and you see how it's green. For PyCharm specifically, a string is always highlighted bright green like that. It might be different in other applications, but yeah, this is a string. It's words or letters or anything placed in between the quotations. So another example could be just a name. We could use Dylan, and you could even do comma Bob, and that's a string too. And really, it doesn't even have to make sense. It can be anything. As long as it's in between the quotations, it is a string. And in case anyone is wondering, because this is a question I had when I first started out, is what if I put a number in between the quotations? Because, we talked about an integer as any whole number, so what happens if you put it in between quotations? Let's do that. We'll put a 5 in between, and you'll notice it's a different color. So this is like a teal such and such color, and this is again the bright green. That's because these quotations are they symbolize the string being made inside there. So as soon as you take an integer or anything and you put it inside the quotations, it immediately changes the data type to a string. And as far as strings go, that's pretty good, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Oh, let's see. Boom. So the next one we will do float. And it is all the way spelled out. Now you'll notice I'm capitalizing the notes that, whoop, not that, the notes that I'm taking here. That's just my own habit. You don't have to. You do need to pay attention to capitalizing things because there are some things that are case sensitive. One of which we will go over just after this data type. But as for now, a float. And this is an integer with a decimal point. So 5.5 is a float. Or an 8.9, 0.03. Oop, I have the numlocks. Okay, 0.03, and of course the negative 0.59. So a float takes a whole number to the next level, basically. It gets a little bit more specific, and we get to add the decimal point to it. And that is a specific case use, and there will be situations where you'll have to use a float over other things. But for now, that's a pretty good explanation of what a float is. And we'll move on. Let's go to the next one. The last data type. This is where we get into a case-sensitive situation. So we have hashtag Booleans. Oop, let me spell it right. A Boolean. And a Boolean is abbreviated BOOL. And this is strictly a data type that represents true or false. And under the hood, meaning underneath Python, Booleans true or false, this strictly just represents a 1 or a 0. And when I say under the hood, that's a little bit far advanced, but if you've seen other coding languages, you know that they are a lot more complicated than Python, which is one of the reasons why Python's a great language to start out learning, because it is one of the more simple languages. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Like, we'll go and move forward and you'll see examples of what I'm talking about, but you know, C++, C#, these are languages that take a lot more lines to do very like little bitty things. So yeah, underneath all of this, the only reason we're able to use something like true or false as a very simple concept is because underneath this there's a lot of coding and programming that goes into this to make it to be as simple as it is for us. But anyways, true or false. So these situations, you might have a program, or you might have something running, and you might need to say, or you might be checking to see if a password's the same. And we're not going to go very far down this road. It's just the first video. But let's say if you were in a situation, let's say if password, let's see, whoop, what am I doing, is true, then something. And so what this would be doing would, if is also another concept that we're not going to go over, but either way, if password is true, and then we execute a code block underneath this. But it is strictly to determine whether or not something is yes or no. And it is, like I said, true with a capital T is completely different than true with a lowercase t. This means nothing, which is why you see it underlined in red versus underlined in yellow. And the only reason, by the way, that this is underlined in yellow is because it's saying, okay, I see this as a string, but like, what are you trying to do with it? This is incomplete, which that's fine, you know, for right now. And again, if you were to add the quotations, boom, no problem. So that is the 4 data types. Let's kind of wrap this up with one more thing, which is sort of a rite of passage, if you will. Let's get this let's get this thing erased. Oop. Okay. Okay. So we went over the 4 data types: integers, strings, floats, and booleans, and we will do our first program. And I don't know what I am doing. We're going to use the print function. So type with me print and then use the parentheses, and you're going to put whenever you're executing the print function, and this is a function, so we'll go ahead and put that there. Function. Whenever you are executing a print function, you always use the parentheses and you put whatever it is inside it. So now we're going to print a string. So you know we have to use the quotations, and I'll put that outside here as a little note that you need to put stuff in between here. Maybe we'll put a 0 there just to sort of hold something. And if anybody's taking notes, they can, kind of refer to that. Anytime you're using a print function, you put whatever it is inside. And so for this, as I mentioned, the rite of passage thing, you watch any of these programming videos and they will always say, do your, program your first program or script, and it's always hello world. And so to kind of follow tradition, we'll do the same thing. So if you've typed out print and then do the parentheses and then the quotations and then hello world inside it, you can either, let me get back to the current file, you can either press the play, or in my case I press Shift F10 and it runs it. It runs it in the console when there's not a bunch of stuff that it's trying to do beforehand. So this is actually a great opportunity to elaborate on what I was talking about. The way that Python works is it goes line by line. And so it started here. There's nothing. It started here. Whoop. Let's go back. What is going on here? Okay, it started here. And it doesn't even evaluate the hashtag stuff. So it goes straight to line 3. And it's saying, hey, what's going on with this? And so since it can't run it, it shuts the whole program down. And so if we blot that out and try to run it again, what do you think's going to happen? Anybody put in the comments something like that? It will just move to the next thing or problem. And so that actually would be line 6, but for the case of learning, we'll push play, line 6. And it's saying what's going on here. So a quick way of just kind of blotting all this out is grab and drag just like that, highlight it, and press Control and /, not backslash, /. And you'll see that it quickly applied the hashtag to everything. That's super useful because I cannot tell you how many times I have went through and one by one commented out a line just so as I could see if one thing's working, and it's just so time saving. And it works in reverse too. Control /, it takes it away, and Control Z obviously goes back. So print hello world. So we're using Shift F10 or Start, and it puts it in the console. So you've just ran your first program. That's awesome. Yeah, this is a lot to cover in a first episode, but I think it's just the right amount to really kind of play around with. And let's do one more thing. Put a space there, and we're going to go over one more thing, and that is a variable. Now, a variable, let's use an example like name. Name equals, and keep in mind spacing, everything that I'm doing is very specific, and we'll go over that later. But for now, we're going to create a variable, and the variable's name is name, and it will equal, let's say, Tom. Of course, it doesn't have to be a name, but for simplicity, we will just go with this. So a variable can be thought of as a container and we put a value in the container. So whatever is inside it, let's see what is inside the container, which is a variable, is the value. And that's just a note to have so as you can think back of it. And it is important to think of it like that because as we go forward, you'll see what I mean, because we can reassign values to variables and things like that. But anyways, name equals Tom. So that means that this variable, which again you can think of like a box, is storing the value Tom. So this is an excellent opportunity to use our print function. So before I do it, let's see if whoever's watching this, can you print the name into the terminal without typing Tom? Use the print function and print the name variable into the terminal whereas Tom shows up, but you don't type the word Tom. Give a few seconds and we will do that now. So we will use the print function like before, and where we was printing a string we had to use the quotations. It's different when you print a variable. You don't use the quotations. You just put the variable name inside the parentheses and you run it. And what's going to happen is it's going to evaluate this and it's going to print this, and then it'll print our hello world, and it should do what we want it to do. So let's put Shift F10 and boom, Tom. So there it is. It spits out the value. So if you want to know the value of a variable, you can use the print function and say print parentheses, put the variable on the inside, and then run it. And so again, it went down the line, it printed out Tom, which is the value, and then it printed out the string that we put in there, which was hello world. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Like, we've covered a lot of stuff, and if you're feeling excited about it and you want to join in and keep on going, then I will be putting out a second episode very soon. And I'm super glad that, anybody watched this video. This is going to be a tutorial series, but this is also sort of like a, what would you call it? I'm sort of keeping track of like my own progress. So I'm going to college for a computer science degree, and I just found an interest in Python. I started coding, watching these YouTube tutorials and things, and I'm just like, man, I really like this. And so I just want to kind of create a catalog, or what would you call it, like a blog or a vlog of my progress, keeping track, but also taking advantage of my mistakes and trying to help maybe somebody else learn it a quicker way. So this will be a little bit about both. It's going to be tutorials, and it's going to be just me kind of, maybe I'll put some of my own projects in here and people can follow along. But yeah, I mean, we can very quickly get from episode 1 where we talk about data types to episode 10 where we create a Py game, using the library or the module inside Python, which that's a little bit far ahead. But yeah, this is super doable, and if we follow this little course, we will be there in no time. So yeah, thank you for watching my video, and I hope it helped. If I can be of any more assistance, or if you would want anything or have any questions, just put it down below. And again, thank you for tuning in to Coding with Keel, and I will see you in the next one.